I just saw it a little while ago. I was in meetings most of the day and had a lunch appointment. All I can tell you is this. I'm not going to talk about personnel matters. I'm not going to talk about contractual matters. But what I'm going to talk to you about is we have an excellent football coach in Al Golden, and he's building a strong program, as I suggested. And I'm looking forward to working with him every single day to get this thing going in the right direction. And over a short period of time, he and I have developed a great chemistry because we're cut in many ways from the same cloth and we believe in the same things. So that's all I'm going to have to say about that. So with that said, I'll take a couple questions.
Shawn, can you get us up to date as much as you can regarding the NCAA investigation?
George, I appreciate the relevance of that question. You know, the NCAA and us have agreed to jointly proceed with the inquiry, and in order for me to protect the integrity of that inquiry, I just can't comment on anything relative to the case. We're continuing to cooperate, and I believe that the NCAA is very pleased with the level of cooperation they've not only received from the institution, but more importantly from the cooperation they received from some of the student athletes that have been interviewed and reinstated up to this point. I will say about that you know, our president, Don Shalala, has done a tremendous job and has been extremely supportive during the process, as the Board of Trustees have been. So I feel good about where we are in the process. I just I can't go into any details relative to where we are with it.
Shawn, you spent about 7 or 8 minutes at the start of this talking about all that's good right now around here with, you know, soccer making strides, and obviously Paige's team, and, you know, volleyball and all kinds of these great things, Schwartz Center, of course. How is all of that just not overshadowed by the uncertainty, by the fact that this has gone on for months and it's going to go on for months more, and you're just not going to know for a long time what the reality is going to be around here?
Well, the reality for me is I don't look at things from a negative light. I only look at them from a positive light. I'm an extremely optimistic person. I came here because the institution is exactly the type of institution that I'd like to align myself with, and that's not changed. I said it in the beginning when all this stuff broke. I'm not making any excuses. I'm not asking anybody to feel sorry for me or anybody else. I got a job to do, and I'm only looking forward. I'm not looking backwards. So if folks want to come along with me, fine. If they don't, you know, that's fine too. But I think most of the people out in our community are buying into what we're doing. There's a positive vibe out in the community about what we're doing at the University of Miami in athletics. So it's an obstacle. I see it as an opportunity for us to strive forward.
Shawn, during fall practice, Coach Golden had intimated that he perhaps didn't know about the oncoming investigation that was going to befall the program. When you were going through the interview process and you were hired, how much and what were you made of aware of with the Nevin Shapiro scandal?
You know, again, relative to the collective efforts that we're having with the NCAA and the collaboration in the joint inquiry and protecting the integrity of the inquiry, I'm not going to get into that right now. As I've said multiple times, I am extremely happy to be here at the University of Miami at this time and lead this department into the future.
Shawn, as far as the NCAA, are they still gathering info from you guys, talking to you about collecting information? Have they given you any kind of indication as far as the time frame when they might be done?
They have not. You know, these processes all take different lives, and so we're engaged in a collaborative process to figure out where we are at the end of the day relative to some of the things that they've wanted to talk to us about, and we're going to continue to be cooperative in that manner, and you know, I feel good about that. I feel really good about where we are in the process.
How do you decide whether to self-impose penalties, like when schools are in these situations, whether to self-impose penalties or just wait for the final conclusion?
You know, I think that the most important thing in any one of these sort of processes is not to rush to judgment and make sure that you have all the facts. And so once we collectively gather all of the facts and have an understanding of where we are, then we can start making some of those decisions.
If you are eligible for a bowl game this year, do you anticipate playing in that game, Shawn?
Again, I think relative to the maintaining the integrity of our cooperation and our joint inquiry with the NCAA, it's not appropriate for me to talk about those things.
Can you talk about how it's affected recruiting? I mean, I've talked to just even Jim Lanning, who's trying to get things going, and Al Golden, and other schools are obviously going to negative recruit. The longer it goes on, the harder it gets, I would think. How do you deal with that as the AD?
Well, the way I deal with it is I'm thankful for the things we have, because we have wonderful things that I've just described. Every institution is different. Everybody approaches recruiting different. All I can tell you is that those young people who might be interested in coming to the University of Miami are going to have a wonderful opportunity to the extent that they want to get involved in our program. I think our coaches have been around a long time, and they understand the nature of their businesses, but I'm confident in the abilities of our coaches across the board in continuing to attract great student athletes, not only athletically, but high achieving, academic based sort of student athletes that we would all hope for here at the University of Miami.
Since you've been here, you've done a lot of observing of how the department runs, internally and externally. What are some things you've learned that the department does well, and maybe some things that you'd still like some areas you'd like to work on as well?
I've still got a long ways to go in the look, learning, and listening, and it would be premature for me to make any comments in that regard yet. But I have said this many times. I have a vision. What I need to do is to make sure that I do the University of Miami justice by taking as much time as necessary to determine where we are and what direction we need to go. So we do a lot of things really well, as I expected here. And leading with academics is a treasure. You know, not a lot of places are leading with the strength of a brand academically that we are. So that's a big positive. So there'll be a time and a place. Now is not the time or place to talk about those things.
You said before you don't want to talk about, obviously specifics of contracts or anything like that, but do you feel that Al Golden deserves more than what he has right now for what he's gone through and what he's going through? Do you think that he deserves a better contract?
I think that first of all, I'm not going to go there relative to what you're asking, but all I can say is Al Golden has conducted himself as I think we all knew he would. He's a tremendous person. He's a tremendous teacher. He's optimistic. He's disciplined. He believes in all the right things, and I think that is a recipe for success, particularly as we relate to what I think and how I believe.
Have you talked to Al? Has he shared his feelings about?
Talk to Al every day.
What has he kind of told you as far as his feelings of coaching here and the future and whatnot?
Well, I know you talk to him regularly as well, and what I hear from him is what you hear from him. He is extremely excited to be the coach at the University of Miami. His family loves being here, and why would you not? University of Miami is as good as it gets if you're going to get involved in college football, and we will get back there. And we have high expectations, and so we talk about the positive things, the optimistic things, the things that we know that we can get done. It doesn't do us any good to talk about the rest of the stuff. We'll systematically get there.
Shawn, I'm sorry, you're not the first school, obviously, to say that some version of to protect the integrity of the investigation. But why do you? USC did it, Oregon did it to some extent, North Carolina did it, Auburn did it for a while. Why is it so imperative to keep some of these things off the radar and not have them out there? I mean, particularly in a time where the NCAA, for the past year or so, has reached out more to more and more outlets and said, we want to open up some veils on the process. We're just not going to talk to you about specifics of the process. Why do you think it's so imperative that schools that find themselves in this way just say nothing about it?
Tim, I think that when the University of Miami sat down with folks from the NCAA, we agreed that this is how it was going to be. And so that's all I can really comment relative to that. It's a process. It's a public process. You know, you can all go and read about how the process works. But you know, I think it's best to not get involved in the process, because I think you might get yourself involved in specifics, which is just not an area I think that we want to go right now.
With football, once you asked for reinstatement of certain athletes, 12, 13, 14, whatever the exact number was, you got that fairly quickly. You got your answer before the season. There is still a men's basketball player whose status is unknown. Are you hopeful that you'll get some resolution to that before November 11th?
Sooner than later. I'm certainly hopeful. We're hopeful relative to Daquan, but he has cooperated. We have cooperated, and you know, we're going to let the process work itself out. And again, I hope sooner than later we'll be able to figure out where we're going to be.
If you were going to do something without Coach Golden's contract, what would the timeline of that be, or what? I mean, obviously, he has 4 years left. Is there any urgency, because this is the time of year when people come looking for coaches? And, you know, like, why did it come up today? You know, if you have an opinion on why it might have come up today, or?
I don't, Gary. You know, again, I just don't want to talk about the personnel, the contract piece, because I think that is really the bond that you have with your coaches. And so I think you'll find that if you talk to anybody who's ever worked with me, I'm extremely open and honest with my coaches, and we know where each person is at the end of the day. So I'll always be fair with the people that I work with, and I don't really know why today you know, things popped up, but you know, I'm excited to have Coach Golden here at the University of Miami.
But I'm like, do you feel any urgency to do something about it, or like to change things, or alter the contract in any way, or is there an urgency on your part to do it soon, or?
That's not how I work. Again, I'm going to go back to I think the thing that's important at the end of the day, and that's that I just don't comment on those sorts of things.
A non-investigation question, if you don't mind. I know Jim has been, I'm guessing you don't mind. I know Jim has been very outspoken about must fill the building, must get out in the community, must do this, must do that, got to get little kids in here, got to get their parents in here, and Katie, to a certain point, has followed that tack. That being said, football home games attendance hasn't really been much different than past years. Frustrating to you, part of the process to you, and are there things you can do in the short term as far as, like, you know, the end of this season, 12 going forward, where you expect those numbers to really change?
Sure. Tim, good question relative to Jim, and I'm glad you brought it up, because I don't think we can emphasize enough what he is trying to do in building a culture around basketball, whether it's his youth camps in the summer, the K-Nation program that he's doing right now with you know, our players coaching the young people. We had Miami Madness a couple weeks ago, which I really thought was a great event. It's a starting place. So you got a coach that cares about the whole thing, right? He not only cares about his kids, the University of Miami, the community, the young people, but he cares about the game of basketball. And he wants to bring that to a greater level here at the University of Miami. And Katie feels the same way. And that's why, you know, the way they came together a couple of weeks ago with that event I think was a special event for us. So, but it's a process. You know, I'm trying to, you know, sit back and listen and learn and look. I don't like to talk a lot. I like to sit back and I like to hear what people have to say and take it all in. And once I do that, then we'll start getting together and we'll make some decisions about where we are. But I'm not going to get hung up on the attendance and all those sorts of things right now, because we have got to build a sustainable foundation for the future. And once I think we do that and we plug the right people in place, like I think we have, you know, I think those 4 coaches that I mentioned, I don't know if anybody across the country collectively has got that kind of coaching power. We really got exceptional coaches, and I would say that in all of our other programs too, with Paige and Mario and Christy. I mean, we really have a group of coaches who I think are committed to doing the right thing, and this is a place, this is a canvas where you can do exceptional things.
You said you don't like to talk a lot. Why did you decide to talk to us today?
Good question.
We've been wanting to talk to you for a long time.
Sure. Well, more than anything, I wanted to come over and watch basketball, and I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to bring as many people over to watch basketball as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just seemed like the right thing to do and the right time to do it. And I appreciate all the patience that you all have had. And again, I'm really I've really been impressed for the most part with respect to the stories that you're telling about our kids, because we have so many tremendous stories within our programs, and hopefully we'll continue to help you tell those stories.